Hey guys, it's Carla. Today I'm going to paint this stack of pots with vines growing out. I'm starting with a small angle brush with my darkest colors. So right now I'm using raw umber, just a dark brown. And I've got white. This is acrylic paint. I've got white, raw sienna, burnt sienna, raw umber, green, and blue. So I want to start with my darkest areas because once this paint dries, you can just paint right over it. So when I go in with my clay color, I'll be able to just brush right over this brown and not have to paint around it. It's just a time saver. So I've got my darkest areas in, and I'm lightening it up a little bit to go right around the edge of the pot there. This is just a synthetic angle brush. In this painting I'll use two different sizes of synthetic angle brushes, and three different sizes, and at one point I'll use a liner brush also. So up here inside the top pot, I want to go dark on the left side and lighter on the right side because my light is coming from the left side. So on the outside of the pots it's shining on the left side, and on the inside it's shining on the right side. These are just little details that make your painting look more authentic. So now I'm just very lightly mixing up raw sienna, burnt sienna, and raw umber. I'm not mixing it well, as you can tell it's very marbled. And I'm just going to paint over the whole thing. Like I said, you can paint over that brown once it's dry, and you'll still be able to see it. This is just the base color for our terracotta pots, and we'll be adding darks and lights, and just to make it more dimensional, because it looks very flat right now, but it won't once you get your darks and your lights in. Okay, so now I'm just tapping in some dark. It's, I guess, kind of dirt around the edge of the pot. These are just very dirty. I'll be putting dirt on, and moss, and even some mildew. I'm just making this up as I go, so bear with me when I act like I don't know what I'm going to do next. Okay, so now I'm going a little bit lighter and putting in some shadows underneath the lip of the pots. and use whatever size angle brush you need for where you're working. In fact, if this is an 8x10 canvas, but if you're using a larger canvas, then you would need larger brushes. But either way, synthetic angle is what you need. But a flat would work too. It's just the angle brush, because you have that point on it, it's just easier to get into certain places, but a flat brush would definitely work. Okay, now this is the shaded side of my pots, because the light is coming from the left side, so I want to shade the right side. If you imagine that over on in the left hand upper corner, that's where the sun is, then you can kind of know where to put your shadows and your highlights. And some of the coloring is not even shadow, it's just the coloring on the pots, so you got to keep that in mind too, but you do want to make sure that the right side is darker than the left side. And keep your brush strokes going around the pot so that the brush strokes that show make sense. Okay, now I want to highlight the left side, so I'm adding some white to that color, to the popped color. And I want to go all the way against the edge. But again, keep your brush strokes going in the direction of the pot. Okay, now I'm going to put some moss on the pot. So I'm mixing a little bit of brown with some green and then adding white to it to lighten it up. Careful with the brown. these are worn out brushes that I'm using, and because they're worn out, you can use the kind of frayed edge as to tap this moss on. It gives the perfect texture for that. You might want more moss on your pot than what I'm putting on, but this shows you how to do it. So now I'm getting a little bit darker green and tapping it over it just to deepen the green and to give it more depth. A little bit of blue to that and some white, and make some, I guess this is mildew. If you've ever worked with terracotta pots, then you know that they grow all this stuff on them. If you don't have any worn out angle brushes, then you could use a hog bristle brush for this texture. A lot of this that we're putting on right now will get covered up by the vines, but since I don't know exactly where my vines are going to be going, then I'm going to act like they're not going to be there at all. Now right here, I just wanted a little bit of warmth, a little more warmth to my pots, so I'm just adding a little more of the burnt sienna, but you may like the shade you have already. I just want a lot of character in these pots. You may want to step back and look at it to see if you've got everything in there that you want before you move on to the vines. Okay, so now I'm using a small angle brush and white paint to put my leaves in, and the reason I'm using white is because against this dark pot, green is not going to show up well. So wherever I want leaves on against the pot, I want to put white. You don't have to do that against the white background, but the vines that are going to be against the pot need to have a white base. So I'm just touching the tip of the brush and then pressing down, and that gives you a leaf shape. It's very simple. And make sure that your leaves are going in different directions. You don't want them all going the same way, because that doesn't look natural. And you might end up wanting more or less leaves, but just make sure you give them a white base. Fast forwarding through the blow drying. And now I'm using a liner brush to put my vines in. And I'm just going to use that raw and burnt siennas, just a mixture of that for these vines. And you really don't have to get real detailed with this, as long as there's some, you can see some vines here and there. You don't have to make sure that every single leaf has a vine. It's hard to see these on the monitor against that pot. Now I'm putting these vines out there because I know there is going to be leaves out there. So I just want to indicate that there's vines holding them up. Okay, now I'm going to start on my the green on my leaves, and I'm just using a mixture of green, blue, white, a little bit of yellow. And you don't have to try to cover up all your white, because there's going to be other coats of paint on each leaf, so can tell, I'm just very haphazardly putting this green on there. Being a little more careful out here because I'm actually forming the leaves. Now this is just another shade to go on top of the leaves. I just added a little bit of white and blue to it. It kind of gives you that eucalyptus color, which I really like. In hindsight, I could have done eucalyptus leaves, but I didn't. Another shade that I'm just tapping on there. I don't want to cover up what I've already got on, but this just adds more depth to it. The less intentional you are about this, the better it'll look. You don't want to be too uptight about it because it'll show. Now I forgot about these up here at the top, so I'm putting those back in with green and then other shades on top of it, just like I did the other leaves. Okay, and then the vines with the raw and burnt sienna. Give these top ones some vines very loosely. And if you'll notice now, it's kind of flat looking. It needs some more depth. So I'm going to mix some green and blue to get a darker shade and put in some darker leaves. And I guess you could leave this dark like this if you wanted to, but I am going to go back with highlights on each of the leaves. But if you'll notice, that dark really adds dimension to it. I'm lightening that color up a little bit because, like I said, I want to add highlights to it. But I'm just tapping it on. I don't want to cover up all my dark. Okay, it's time to blow dry again. And the reason I'm blow drying now is because when I put my background on, I want to be able to just brush right over this. So I'm using a large angle brush, and I picked up some, you can use water or glazing liquid. I use extender, but either way, you just need to make a glaze with that green and with that greenish blue, and just kind of glaze over this. If you want to leave your background white, you can do that, but I like that little hint of color. It just, to me, adds something to it. So guys, I hope you really enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up. That really helps me, and subscribing to my channel helps. And if you'll hit that notification bell, then you'll get notified when I put out a new video. If you'll notice this, it makes a subtle difference, but it does make a difference. And once it dries, it's a little bit darker than it is right now as it goes on. So that's it. Thanks for watching, guys.